Hello, my name is Sergio Del Amo. I'm going to show you a change that was introduced in Micronaut Framework 4.4. I have here a Micronaut application which is using Micronaut 438. I'm going to run it and I'm going to show you how the application behaves. So I'm going to do a curl command against an endpoint of the application. So I'm going to do a curl command against API albums 123, and you see it's returning an album. This application is using a Micronaut declarative HTTP client. Let me show it to you. Which is essentially consuming an API and returning a publisher. Micronaut declarative HTTP clients are built at compilation time for you, and you can return like blocking types. You can return a list of photos, but you can also return, so you could return a list of photos, but you could return also a publisher or a mono if you were using Project Reactor, as I am in this application. The change that I am describing is a change to protect you about accidentally blocking the netty event loop. I have here in my controller a bug which I introduced on purpose. I am essentially getting the publisher from the declarative HTTP client and I'm calling .block. Thus, I am blocking on the netty event loop, and I shouldn't. And as you see this code, you will get like a performance penalty in Micronaut 4.3, and the idea is that in Micronaut 4.4 we will throw an exception and you will be forced to fix this error. So if I now run my app, if I change the Micronaut version to Micronaut 4.40 snapshot, by the time of this recording there will be a version already of Micronaut 4.4.0 released. If I run the application now and I invoke it via the API, you see that an exception was thrown, and let me show you the exception in the IDE so that you see the error that you may get. So you're going to get something like this: unexpected error occur, block first, block last are blocking, which is not supported in the thread default event loop group 1.2. So essentially, you cannot use this, you cannot block, you cannot use this blocking method or Project Reactor. The change that was done is that Project Reactor blocking operations throw an exception when they are done on the event loop thread. So in order to fix that, we have several options. One option is to actually return here a publisher or a mono here. I could come here and do mono, and I could do a mono. I could do here map, right? And I could just do this. And if I now run my app, so in Micronaut is, of course, possible to return like a Project Reactor type in your controller method. That's absolutely the easiest and probably the best solution. And as you see, no exceptions thrown, and the application behaves as you can expect. The second option that you have is, let me revert back to the calling to the .block, is instead of just returning an album, what you can do is actually use that execute annotation, which is what we recommend you to use whenever you are blocking. You can use as execute annotation, and you can use here the execute annotation and use blocking, so that it will use the IO thread pool when you are using a Java version which doesn't support virtual threads, and it will use virtual threads when you're using a Java version that's supported. So if I change this to at execute.blocking, then this should work fine. So now if I run my API, it should not throw an exception, it should behave fine. The last option is I'm going to remove that execute on, and what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to inject the a blocking executor service. So I'm gonna do here in constructor injection, I'm gonna inject the let me call it executor service, and now I can do here private final executor service. Let me initialize it in the constructor, and now I could do here something like this. This will force me to either surround it with a try catch or add exceptions. I'm going to add exceptions here to the method, and if I now run it, now I can execute the API as expected. So this is a change that may involve some work on your part for Micronaut 440. We think it's really important that you don't block the native event loop, and thus hopefully you understand why this change of behavior. As always, think if your controller endpoints are blocking, and if they are blocking, annotate them with at execute on, and then you will be fine. Let us know if you find anything that doesn't work, or if you need any help. And as always, thanks for watching the video, and thanks a lot to the Micronaut Foundation's sponsors for making the development and advocacy of the framework possible. Thank you. Ciao, ciao.